I'm gonna be recommending the First Law Trilogy by Joe Abercrombie in 3 minutes. Now, I thought I wouldn't enjoy grimdark, but then I read the First Law Trilogy, and Joe Abercrombie has quickly become a favorite author of mine. I've now read most of his books, and I haven't been disappointed yet. Now, the First Law Trilogy is this gritty, character-driven series, where Abercrombie explores the complexities of human nature. The story follows several main characters, each with their own agenda and motivations. There's Logan Ninefingers, the Bloody Nine. He's a barbarian with a fearsome reputation, a terrifying alter ego, and a violent past that he's trying to escape. Such an amazing character. Next is Sandan Glokta. Formerly a renowned swordsman, he's been transformed into a bitter cripple who's now working as a professional torturer, cutting treason out of the Union one confession at a time. Despite his bitterness, he's a character that brings a lot of humor to the series. His inner monologue is filled with deliciously cynical thoughts and clever remarks. And of all the characters, Glokta is the one I ended up trusting the most, despite initially thinking he would be a villain of the series. And by the end of the trilogy, he ended up being one of my favorite characters in fantasy. Then we have Giselle Dan Luther, a nobleman, a talented fencer. He's a pompous, pretentious, entitled elitist who goes through an intense character arc. These are all characters you wouldn't think you'd end up liking and rooting for, but you do. Now, their stories all intertwine as they get caught up in a power struggle that threatens to plunge the world into chaos. And this is a world of war, political intrigue, and conspiracy. The characters are all fleshed out extremely well, meaning their motivations and behavior emerge naturally due to their personal history and everything that we know about them. This means the characters are very believable, and believability is an important tool to make readers feel immersed. You have to be realistic about these things. I really enjoyed how you never know what's going to happen next. You think you might know a character or think a character's changing, but then they backslide. However, despite the series being very bleak, it also has a surprising amount of humor. Now, when it comes to prose, a lot of fantasy can be very flowery and come off as trying too hard, while some others can be too basic. Abercrombie is that perfect balance between these two extremes. He can write really beautifully while not using too many words, and he changes his grammar and prose based upon the character whose perspective we're reading from, which I think is a big reason why character voice is so strong here. Say one thing for Abercrombie, say he knows how to write character voice like no other. Each character in First Law is so distinct, you immediately know whose perspective you're reading from, even if their name isn't on the page. And he writes so many memorable phrases and lines. Better to do it than to live in fear of it is actually something I say to myself when I have anxiety about doing something. And of course, Body Floating by the Docks is always stuck in my head, and it really punctuates how a situation can end badly for Glokta if he doesn't handle it with care. Now, if you prefer audiobooks, Stephen Pacey's narration, he sets the bar high. Honestly, he elevates the characters, and he makes this one of my best experiences with audiobooks ever. I would highly recommend the audiobooks. Abercrombie is also incredibly skilled with writing battle scenes. This is such a fantastic trilogy, I wish more people would read it, and as soon as you finish this trilogy, there are 3 standalones that take place in the First Law universe, and the second trilogy called The Age of Madness, all of which are worth a read. If you're a fan of A Song of Ice and Fire, then the First Law books are a no-brainer. Honestly, I could see Abercrombie being a good fit to finish that series if Martin never does. And time. Let me know if you plan on reading the First Law Trilogy. I made this video because one of you guys recommended it, so make sure to leave a recommendation for the next 3-minute recommendation video in the comments. And let me know if you plan on reading the First Law Trilogy. Joe Abercrombie is one of those authors that's become like an auto-buy author for me. I plan on reading everything that he writes. Anyways, I'll have affiliate links in the description and the pinned comment. Consider joining the Discord, and if you want to help support the channel, then check out my Patreon. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys next time.